Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be here with you in this fabulous congress, and I would like to congratulate Kalia Katsamboksaki and all the team from the Learning and Teaching Center of the University of Crete for this excellent congress. So my today's speech will focus on providing feedback to enhance learning in higher education. And actually, I will start with a brief introduction. Then I will try to show you why feedback is important. I will talk about types, characteristics, and principles of effective feedback. And then I will go through some case studies, and I'll talk also about feedback technology. And I will finish my presentation with brief conclusions. So, starting a brief overview of the importance of effective feedback in higher education, I would like to say that it plays a crucial role in facilitating student learning, fostering academic growth, and enhancing overall educational quality. It also provides students with insights into their strengths and areas for improvement, and self-regulation, of course, is reinforced through this procedure. It also motivates students to engage more actively with their studies. When students see that their efforts are recognized and receive guidance on how to improve, they're more likely to stay engaged and committed to their education. Finally, we have to keep in mind that structured feedback encourages students to think critically about their work, and also it prompts them to analyze their thought processes, evaluate their decisions, and consider alternative approaches. But why feedback matters? Because it provides students with a clear understanding of what is expected of them in terms of learning objectives, assessment criteria, and performance standards. So it clarifies expectations. It also promotes a growth mindset by emphasizing improvement over fixed ability. And also, it guides self-assessment because when students understand the criteria used for evaluation, they can evaluate their own work more accurately and set goals for improvement. Also, it tailors instruction because it allows students to identify common misconceptions or gaps in understanding and tailor lessons accordingly. It also promotes active learning because it encourages students to reflect on their work, make connections to concepts, and also seek opportunities for growth. And that leads to the enhancement of metacognition. And it also motivates effort and persistence because positive feedback acknowledges students' efforts and accomplishments, boosting their motivation to continue learning. Then identify strengths and weaknesses. And finally, it supports self-regulation because feedback empowers students to take responsibility for their learning. And as they learn to interpret feedback and apply it to their work, they develop self-regulation skills that benefit lifelong learning. So, its role in shaping students' understanding and performance is very important. Actually, it's a catalyst. Why? Because first of all, it clarifies concepts, and feedback helps clarify concepts and ideas that students may find challenging. And when students receive feedback on their assignments or assessments, it can address misunderstandings and provide explanations that enhance their understanding. Also, feedback provides specific guidance on how to improve, whether it is related to content, structure, research, or critical thinking. Actionable feedback directs students' efforts towards areas where they can make the most progress. Also, when students receive feedback on their performance, they can assess whether their current learning strategies are effective. If not, they can adapt and try different approaches based on feedback received. Detailed feedback often guides students toward high-level skills such as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, and it helps build confidence because it boosts students' confidence in their abilities. And this confidence can spill over into other aspects of their education, leading finally to increased participation and engagement. But which are the types of feedback? All of us know that there are two main types, the formative and the summative. And if we would like to discuss a little bit the characteristic of these two types of feedback, I would say that formative feedback has as goal to support students' learning and help them improve their understanding and skills. It occurs while students are still engaged in the learning activity, allowing them to make adjustments and improvements. It emphasizes specific areas for improvement. It may include suggestions for additional resources, strategies, or steps to take for improvement, and it informs students of their progress, guides their efforts, and helps them apply adjustment that lead to better results. So overall, concerning the interaction, it encourages a continuous cycle of improvement or reflection. On the other hand, summative feedback has as a goal to provide an overall evaluation of the student's performance and to assign a grade. It is used to determine the outcome of the assessment and to measure the extent to which learning objectives can be met. They highlight general strengths and weaknesses, but doesn't usually offer detailed suggestions for improvement, like the previous one. And also it may include comments summarizing the overall performance. Its effect on learning, actually, while it doesn't directly impact the current assignment, it provides an opportunity for reflection and understanding for future work. And summative feedback typically doesn't involve a feedback loop for revisions like the formative one we've seen before. If we would like to compare the two kinds of feedback, is designed to guide ongoing learning and improvement, while summative feedback provides a final evaluation of performance. Both types of feedback are essential components of effective assessment and contribute to students' overall learning experience. And now talking a little more about effective feedback. So what is this? How is this effective feedback? I would say that it should be specific and focus on particular aspects of the work, and it highlights what was done well and precisely identifies areas needing improvement. So sometimes we receive a comment like, προσπάθησε περισσότερο, but we don't know where, in which direction we have to make a further effort. Also, feedback should be clear and easy for the student to understand. It should avoid jargon or overly complex language that might confuse the recipient. Feedback is also constructive, providing guidance for improvement rather than pointing out errors. So this we have to keep in mind. It offers actionable suggestions on how to enhance understanding. Timely feedback is provided promptly after the completion of the assignment or an assessment, and only in this way it allows students to apply the feedback to their work while the task is still fresh in their minds. And it must be in a supportive tone, so it should acknowledge effort, successes, and the potential for growth. Also, it has to be aligned with objectives. It has to be personalized. It must focus on process, the final outcome. So it encourages students to reflect on their strategies and approaches while they are learning. It has to be balanced and should balance the positive feedback that acknowledges strengths with areas needing improvement. So in this meaning, we have to have a balanced feedback. And also, it should be focused on growth, meaning that it has to emphasize growth and progress over fixed ability. I would say a few more words about timely feedback because actually timely feedback is provided promptly after the completion of an assignment or assessment, and the advantage is that it allows students to apply the feedback to their work while the task is still fresh in their minds. But on the other hand, a delayed feedback whether intentionally or due to various circumstances, can have significant effects on the learning process. First of all, when feedback is delayed, students might struggle to remember the context of their work and decision they make. Also, prompt feedback helps students identify and address their mistakes or misconceptions while the content is still fresh in their minds. And delayed feedback might result in missed opportunities to correct errors. Decreased motivation, actually, students often seek validation and guidance shortly after completing a task. And if feedback is significantly delayed, they might lose motivation to engage with the feedback and apply it to future work. Also, immediate feedback allows students to revise and apply suggestions, while delayed feedback disrupts this learning loop we've talked before, leading to a longer gap between learning and improvement. Also, it offers limited opportunities for reflection, and the longer the gap between receiving feedback and applying it, the less effective the corrections may be. Also, students might find it challenging to recall issues being addressed. Delayed feedback can also lead to misinterpretation, as students might forget the context of their work. There is a lack of continuity, and of course, skills often require consistent practice and feedback to improve, while delayed feedback can hinder the development of these skills by extending the time between practice and refinement. So let's see now some tips for constructive feedback, which might be very empowering. First of all, the use of descriptive language to explain the observations and suggestions is very important. So we have to avoid judgmental or evaluative language that might discourage the recipient. Also provide concrete, actionable suggestions for improvement, not general, and guide recipients step by step on how to address the identified areas for growth. Also maintain a respectful and supportive tone in the feedback and ensure that the recipients feel valued and encouraged to learn. Direct feedback towards specific behaviors, actions, or aspects of the work, and avoid making judgments about the individual's character. Prioritize feedback on the most critical areas for improvement, so address one or two key points only and all at the same time. And finally, consider individual learning styles and provide feedback in the format that resonates with them, whether it's visual, auditory, or hands-on. And let's see now some feedback strategies. So we talked about feedback, but there is the feed-forward feedback, which is, in addition to reviewing past work, we can provide suggestions for future assignments. There is also the feedback sandwich, where we begin with positive feedback, positive constructive feedback in the middle, and with more positive reinforcement. And this approach ensures that recipients receive guidance in a supportive context. Also, there is the single point feedback, where we focus on one key aspect that will lead to significant improvement. There is the peer feedback workshops, where we can organize sessions where students provide feedback to their peers. There are the feedback portfolios and very nice technology instruments that can help us do that, so we can create a portfolio of students' work over time. The rubric-based feedback, the 3+1 feedback, what's that? We can highlight 3 positive aspects of the student's work and provide one area for improvement. And this strategy maintains a balance between positive reinforcement and constructive guidance. And there are, of course, the feedback loops. I've told you before about that, where we can provide feedback on drafts, allow students to make revisions and resubmit their work. And this iterative process supports ongoing improvement. Okay, and now let's say a few words about assessing diverse learners. Actually, tailoring feedback to suit diverse learning styles and backgrounds involve recognizing and accommodating the various ways in which students learn and perceive information. So all we do has to be culturally sensitive. We have to use varied communication modes, customize feedback channels, address different learning styles, individualize feedback and seek student input, offer multimodal feedback and provide choices, and also scaffold feedback. This is very important for our students. Let's say also a few words about self-assessment, where plays a crucial role in the feedback process. We can't talk about assessment without self-assessment. We can't talk about feedback without talking about self-assessment. So self-assessment plays a crucial role in the feedback process, enhancing the effectiveness of learning. It empowers individuals to take an active role, and to do that, we have to provide clear criteria, use guiding questions, highlight achievements, use exemplars, actually provide examples of high quality work and lower quality work for comparison. And this helps students calibrate their self-assessment against different learning levels of achievement. And the last one is normalize mistakes, where create a safe environment where students feel comfortable acknowledging mistakes and areas that need improvement. Emphasize that mistakes are opportunities for learning and not something bad. Sometimes we don't do that in Greek education, so we have to work more on that. Of course, we have a lot of challenges. The first one is the workload management. How can we do all that with all this work? We have to do the administrative work, the teaching work, the research work, etc., etc. So in order to manage the workload, we have to prioritize tasks, delegate also, set realistic expectations. We have to block time specific for feedback, automate routine tasks, etc. And of course, there are also some problems arising because of large class management. Actually, in order to do that, we can establish clear expectations for behavior, participation, and assignments, or also clear guidelines, break down content, divide the lessons into smaller digestible sections, peer interaction, incorporate active learning, flexible assessment methods. This would help deal with large class management. So if we want to discuss about the challenges, as I told you before, we have to balance between the positive and the negative and the constructive feedback. We have to be very clear. Sometimes we might receive defensiveness, and that's really especially critical feedback can trigger defensive reactions, and people might feel attacked or undervalued, leading to a breakdown in communication. So we have to be very careful. Also, effective feedback should provide actionable steps for improvement. Simply pointing out flaws without suggesting ways to address them can leave the recipient feeling lost about how to proceed. Also, providing feedback is only the first step. Following up to see how the recipient is implementing the feedback and making progress is also equally important, and we have to keep that in mind. And framing the also the way feedback is framed and the language used can greatly influence how it's received. Using non-judgmental language and framing feedback as an opportunity for growth can make a significant difference. And finally, overloading providing too much feedback all at once can be overwhelming for the recipient. So we can give small parts of it slowly. Focusing on a few key points for improvement at a time allows for a more manageable approach to growth. Of course, there is feedback technology, the online learning managing systems, the digital annotation set comments, audio and video feedback tools. I give you some in the slide, peer review platforms, rubric generators, online quizzes and assessments, Quizlink platforms, e-portfolio systems, feedback analytics, virtual reality and augmented reality that can play a crucial role. The chat online survey tools, all these are technological tools which can help us in our job while we do our feedback. Of course, there are a lot of drawbacks of technology use. Actually, sometimes there is an over-reliance on technology which hinders the development of interpersonal skills. And what's the solution? The solution is integrating technology strategically in feedback alongside human interaction. And this can help harness its benefits while mitigating potential drawbacks. So that's all from me. Thank you very much. You can have all my elements in case you would like to ask some questions. And I really would like to thank you.